All right, welcome everyone. It is RTK versus SOTM Clan Wars today. So we have our lineup right here. We have, of course, Prussian Prince and Grumbrindle are going to be starting things off, with Prussian Prince starting as the High Elves and Grumbrindle being the Dwarves. And we have the rest of the lineup here where we're going to have 4 1v1 matches. We're going to have a couple 2v2s, and we will have a final 3v3 to wrap things up. So how things are going to be working out though, each of these 1v1s will be worth 1 point. The 2v2s will be worth 2, and the 3v3s will be worth 3. So, and then that will add up the scores for the day, and we will have our winner at the end. So let's get on over to our match, as our first contestants are already ready to go. All right, so we should be getting that capture going, and there it is. Our first map will be on Eschen, and let's get on into things. All right, so we'll be loading on in. Get the controls a little smoother for everyone. There we are. So yeah, for this first matchup, yeah, Grumbrindle is definitely a dwarf main, so we should be seeing a very good performance from him. Prussian Prince will be leading his High Elves. So as soon as their armies load in, we'll be going through what they have brought for us today, and I'm sure we'll be treated to quite the show. Hopefully the armies load in pretty soon. Welcome, Buntaiga. Welcome to the stream, and hope you enjoy the clan war that we have lined up for today. Alright, there we go. Finally get everyone loaded in. Hopefully this does not continue for the rest of the matches, but we are all here finally today. And now let's go over what Grumbrindle has brought for us. We have Grumbrindle, the White Dwarf, bringing his namesake. We have Felix and Gotrek, so we have quite the traveling duo. The Goblobbers, the ROR Grudge Thrower unit. We have a front line of Dwarf Warriors. We have ourselves some Hammerers, the Althar's Raiders, the Rangers ROR unit, as well as the Norgrimling's Ironbreakers. And we also have another unit of Ironbreakers as well. So a very, very elite Dwarven army that we have brought in. We'll see what Prussian Prince has brought to be able to break that line. And we have quite the armor-piercing lineup. So we have a line of White Lions of Trace. We will have 5 of those, and we'll have 2 Swordmasters of Hoeth. And for the Rangers, or for the ranged units, we have 2 units of Archers. We have a couple Nobles on their chariot, and Alariel the Radiant up in the sky. So yeah, definitely fighting fire with fire, as we've got quite the elite. We got a couple of the 2 Swordmasters units, and all of the White Lions should be able to at least put up a good show at trying to punch through these very elite units of the Dwarves. So it looks like Grombrindle is pretty much all set up, and he is ready. Looks like Prussian is ready as well. Tell everyone that they can start when ready. And let's enjoy the fireworks. So the Grudge Thrower is going to be opening up first, as I believe the High Elves are going to be in range for their initial volleys, as those shots arc in towards the Swordmasters, clipping just a few units, not quite hitting as home as I'm sure Grombrindle would have liked. But yeah, Prussian Prince has pretty much deployed in a very wide line. We'll probably look to collapse upon all of the points of the Dwarven formation, and then use the chariots to kind of push through, get into those Rangers with great weapons, and then try and shut down those Grudge Throwers. Though the infantry has gotten into combat, there's Grudge Throwers not going to have a whole lot to shoot at other than these archers. I think the archers, I guess they're not really going to be able to do a whole lot to most of the infantry that the dwarves have brought, but they should be able to do all right against the raiders and getting those Grudge Throwers offline as well. So yeah, one archer unit has taken quite a beating on the approach. But the rest of the infantry for the High Elves is pretty much unscathed, as the archers now do open up, and they are targeting the Grudge Thrower, pretty much the lightest armored target that they could. But one of the archers' units is routing from the fire from the Grudge Thrower. We also do have a unit of Rangers as well. I missed that initially. Yeah, the High Elves are starting to kind of get a bit of a surround onto the formation, as these Rangers are kind of pushing forward a little bit, looking to get some free shots probably into these Swordmasters. A nice elite target to be firing in at. One of the archers has come back, and the Rangers do pull back as these Swordmasters pull a little too far out of range than they're comfortable for. Yeah, the Grudge Thrower is getting about half health from the focus fire of the 2 archer units. Rangers again trying to push forward a little bit, still a little bit out of range of any of the troops. Obviously those were the Norgrimlings. Trying to maybe give the Rangers a little bit extra support. But yeah, these 2 Norgrimling units are going to be a bit of a threat. I think these nobles are going to try and maybe draw out some of their fire. Though it looks like Grombrindle, Gotrek, and Felix are going to try and attempt to screen out these 2 nobles, but the mobility of these nobles are going to be fairly good, as they do get a nice charge into these Longbeards, but they are just going to pull right back out before Grombrindle can get close enough to get his smoke bomb off, as the Grudge Thrower is now very, very low, and I'm surprised that it even has as much leadership as it does. But that's probably going to be going down, as actually the dwarves are now kind of breaking their formation a bit and moving up with the Norgrimlings and the Rangers, looking to maybe get some shots in, but that is going to open up quite some avenues for the High Elves to kind of get in and cause some havoc. Once again, Grombrindle is getting a little close to these nobles, but the nobles are on top of it and pulling away, getting as much, pretty much free damage as they can. When they charge in, they're not really able to receive a whole lot of damage unless they get stuck in sustained combat. Rangers are now getting their shots from these archers, as the Goblobber is pretty much offline. I think all of its So actually the archers looks like they've even destroyed all of their artillery pieces. And I think the High Elves are going to be able to kind of pick apart this Dwarven formation a bit, though we have two Dwarf Warriors here engaging with the White Lions, and now the Rangers are trying to get some nice shots in targeting the Swordmasters of Hoeth. And I think, the Dwarves really probably needed to stay a little bit more compact. I know they didn't want to be taking all these shots from the archers, but right now, I mean, the High Elves are just going to be able to kind of pick apart what the dwarves have, because there's no real close support for any of these individual units. But these Norglings can easily be kind of focused down on multiple sides, maybe draw out some fire with these archers. I mean, the archers have pretty much done their job. They're getting rid of these rangers here, and I think the rangers on the High Elf side would then be able to just finish them off without causing too much damage, as those do rout off the field. Nobles continuing to cycle in and out of their formation, while Gotrek, Felix, and Grombrindle try to get them down. His Voss Protection was actually cast on this group of High Elves as they do engage with these Iron Breakers. Archers continuing to just shoot away at these the Norglings, but the Norglings really aren't going to be taking too much from the archer fires. They do get a nice volley off into the Swordmasters, though. I think Swordmasters now, they just need to kind of close that gap, get into combat with those Norglings. They don't want to be taking any more shots from those blasting charges. Alright, now the hero squad of the Dwarves is in combat with these White Lions and Swordmasters, who are doing quite a bit of damage to the Iron Breakers, though not a whole lot to that hero squad. Though I think the Nobles on their chariots should be able to handle that fairly well. Arlariel getting into these Rangers, shutting them down again, and they should be breaking fairly quickly, and I think they will be no more of a threat for the rest of this match. Archers using up the last of their ammo onto these Norglings as the Stormmasters have gotten into combat. Norglings will be able to hold pretty well, as they are actually continuing to get a few shots, though it doesn't look like they'll be hitting any of their units. Ironbreaker's almost down, so it's just down to these hero squad here, as some more White Lions are coming in, though L'Oreal drops her heal down, kind of really topping off all the Swordmasters and all the units in that area, normally saved for the Nobles. But with you have all these elite troops, that heal is going to be quite beneficial for them as well. The flank on the High Elves left side has pretty much been decisively won, as it is really, just down to the hero squad, with Gotrek is already down to half health. Felix starting to take some damage, while Grombrindle's still doing pretty well. But now that the Nobles are in, that's where they're really going to be getting the damage down, and a smoke bomb going off from Grombrindle, or a flash bomb I should say, getting the speed and melee defense down on all the surrounding targets. Though I don't think it is going to be enough to salvage this. There's just way too many High Elf troops left on the field, and I think the Dwarves are going to be very hard pressed to pull this one back, especially considering the Nobles are just going to be able to cycle in and out of this blob, and I don't think there's going to be any way for the Dwarves to come back on this, as Felix does rout, and there's going to be plenty of units able to chase him out, and then Grombrindle will probably follow before too long, and Gotrek will stay until the end as he fulfills his Slayer vow, as he is an unbreakable unit. Nobles continuing to cycle in and out. Really, I think they're focusing down Gotrek at this point. Though I think even the Swordmasters are going to be proved to be more than a match for him. Norkrumlings have actually beaten down these Swordmasters, though a returning unit of White Lions of Trace are going to rout them and shatter them off the field. Grombrindle also shatters to army losses, and Gotrek will be the last man standing. He does get some of his heal a little bit here, but he does fall nonetheless, as the High Elves will take the first match of the day, and RTK will get their first point. But yeah, I think the Dwarves, they got a way too spread out. I think that was their big problem there. The Grudge Thrower just wasn't enough to deal enough damage. The archers were even just two archer units was able to pick apart the Grudge Thrower and the Ranger unit. And then when they broke their formation, they pretty much allowed the superior numbers of the High Elves to really just pick them apart as they wished. And the Nobles really have their choice of engagements with no real way to get them down. I think some Thunderers or something along those lines would have been very beneficial, and go on a little less on the elite side. But that will be our first match. So yes, Roland, all of these matchups it was a blind pick. So each clan would submit their list for the day, and whatever the matchups ended up being is what they ended up being. So as we'll take a quick look at the lineup again. So is the two lists that were submitted. So our next one will be Jay Phoenix and Bilbo Baggage. And so yeah, each of these matchups were just whatever they ended up being. And so yeah, you take a quick look, see what the day has in store for us. All right, but so it looks like Grumbrindle is saying that Bilbo Baggage has not yet arrived, so we can just probably go to the third match. And then we will fill in that one when we get the chance. So yeah, the next one I guess will be Lumiere and Predator then. And when Bilbo Baggage gets here, we will get that match in. All right. So yeah, Lumiere and Predator will be next, so I'll make sure Jay Phoenix knows that. Oh, okay. So Jay Phoenix has dropped off, so now we'll get our next contender in. So each of these contestants, they can repeat themselves. And so it's just the factions can only be used once. All right. So, yeah, it should be, I think I have Predator added, so we'll get him invited. Oh, and there he is. And the next map for this is going to be Galbaraz. So yeah, this is going to be a pretty even matchup. The Dark Elves versus Empire is always a fun one to see. Yet a lot of, I guess, similar kind of lineups, but I mean, both have a good skirmishing force with either Outriders or Scourge Runners, or even the Repeater crossbows for the Dark Elves. And the Empire, of course, has some very strong Lord choices and artillery pieces to also assist in those engagements. So yeah, I'll also update the score for the first match. So RTK, of course, is taking the first point. Alright, so his Predator has readied up, and yeah, all these contestants should have a good idea of what they're going to be bringing anyways, so things should be going fairly quickly with all the matchups known ahead of time. And hopefully, yeah, everyone will be able to load up nice and quick. Yeah, all these 1v1s should be running just fine. I think we might have had a little bit of lag in that first match, but I think it was for the most part pretty smooth. For the 2v2s and 3v3s, there is a potential that those could slow down a bit, and if that is the case, we'll just have to push through it, and if they are very slow, I will cast them at a later date, so we can still enjoy all those videos at full speed. So we have the Dark Elf lineup first by Lumiere, and what he has brought is a front line of Dread Spears mixed in with Black Art Corsairs. Black Art Corsairs will do very well against all of the state troops of the Empire. For the cavalry forces, we have some Cold One Knights on the flanks. We have 4 of those. And then for the Lord, we have Malekith up on his Seraphon mount, as well as a Master to assist him. And I believe the Master is probably going to have Guardian, and he does. And then we have, actually it doesn't look like we have Gaze of Malice on Malekith. It is just going to be Soul Stealer. And that is going to wrap things up for the Dark Elf build. Fairly straightforward. Corsairs will do very well against the frontline troops. And then the 4 units of Cold One Knights should do fairly well. I mean, they will kind of struggle against these Demigryph Knights, but if there's only 1 unit, they should do fairly well, though the skirmishing force of the Empire, they do have 2 Outriders. Their front line is going to be a mix of Spearmen, and then for the range, we're going to have a couple the Silver Bullets and a regular handgunner unit, as well as the Hammer of the Witches, and some Halberdiers in the back, as well as a Great Sword, hopefully to help against maybe any elite troops that the Dark Elves may have brought, but they have not brought any of the Blackguard or the like. And for the Lord, we have Boris Todbringer up in the sky. I think against Malekith, he isn't going to win that engagement, but he will be able to assist fairly well in the other engagements with kind of the frontline troops and any of the cav engagements, which we do only have 1 Demigryph Knight for that, so I think the overwhelming numbers of the Dark Elves will have the advantage there, but with the Outrider support and the support from the Hammer of the Witches, since the Dark Elves did not bring any ranged units, I think that will definitely help in those cav engagements with even 1 of those Demigryph Knights. So it looks like I think both our formations are pretty much set up. A little updates on Predator's side, but we can start when ready. Hey, Crown Brindle, welcome back to the chat. Alright, so Predator is ready. I think Lumiere is also ready as well. And we will get things underway. So yeah, the Dark Elves are pretty much just going to be charging forward. They have no range, so the Empire will pretty much just be able to sit back. I think the Hammer of the Witch is going to be firing in onto these Cold One Knights. Get as much damage in to assist in their cav engagement. And the Outriders are pretty much going to have free reign. I think the only real threat against them is going to be some Soul Stealers. And I did forget about the caster. We do have a Light Wizard, so that will also assist in the engagement there. We have, it looks like, False Protection and Net of Amnatok, so that'll allow the Demigryph Knights to get the engagements that they want to see. And we'll see how things go as some shots are raining into these Cold One Knights, doing some decent damage, down to 26 units from their 36. I've already lost 10 models. And a little bit of stutter here. Alright, and the Outriders have opened up. They are just looks like they are firing into these frontline troops. I think they need to really try and focus on the cav engagement, because that is really the biggest threat, I think. Well, them and the Black Art Corsairs are also a threat, but I I think we're just going to have to leave them to these archers, which they have 2 units of those, which actually do very well against the Corsairs with their kind of lower armor, and they don't have shields unlike the other units. But we have the Cold One Knights with Malekith and the Master are starting to circle around to put some pressure on the Empire's left flank. The Demigryph Knights are there to assist, as well as Boris. Though I think these fire support from these Outriders would do very well with Malekith up in the sky, but the Corsairs get a nice charge into these Spearmen, and they get some assistance from the Dread Spears. And yeah, the Corsairs will definitely be able to win this frontline engagement. I think these Cold One Knights are sensing a gap in the formation, trying to get into these handgunners. Spearmen trying to hold them up, but they are able to get through, at least for now. Boris taking quite a bit of damage, a net going down on the Master and Malekith, allowing Boris to get out as the handguns now just open up into that aerial force, as these Demigryph Knights are taking actually a considerable amount of damage. I mean, the Cold One Knights with spears do have anti-large, but they are just taking so much damage. That is going to be a very critical loss if they are not able to survive, and there is no healing from the Empire. So it is not going to be going so well, and the Cold One Spear Riders have gotten a bit into the cookie jar. These Halberdiers are going to try and pin them in. I think they're going to be able to pin in most of that unit, and I think those Cold One Knights are going to be able to, are going to be routing. But the front line is starting to waver for the Empire as the Corsairs are doing their job against the Spearmen. The other Spearmen units are holding as Murderous Prowess has been popped. And yes, the Demigryph Knights have routed. That is going to be very dangerous. And Boris is also routing. I don't think he's going to be coming back. If we take a look, he is only at 400 health. Is he still regenning? He is still regenning. I thought that stopped when they routed, but yeah, the Cold One Knights now getting into the handgunners, as I think the rest of the Empire formation is pretty much just shattering right now. There's just not enough to hold off the tide, as yeah, the Master is pushing off Boris, and Malekith is still very healthy, getting onto the Light Wizard, so no more nets. And I think, yeah, that is going to be all she wrote, as the Empire is pretty much just collapsing on all sides right now. And the Outriders are really the only unit, and the Great Swords that haven't really been routing. But yeah, that's going to be all she wrote, and the Dark Elves will take it. So yeah, the RTK will take its 2nd win of the day. That was a pretty convincing win. I think, yeah, the Outriders, I think, were on the wrong side of the engagement there. They really needed to assist in that cav engagement, and that was really what capitulated all of the just breakdowns for the Empire, is losing those Demigryph Knights pretty much without any support. I mean, Boris tried to support, but Malekith would just tear him to pieces, especially with the Master there. And both sides have withdrawn, so we will have our next matchup. If Bilbo Baggage is here, then we can have him come in. Otherwise, we still have one more 1v1 left. So I'll take a quick look to see if I see him online. It does say he's online. So if you are there, hop on in to the lobby. And then yet J Phoenix, you will be his opponent. So take a look at the lineup. So yeah, we have Prussian Prince and Lumiere have won their matches. So if Bilbo Baggage is here, we'll have J Phoenix match off. Otherwise, we will have Tex versus Mercer Nick as our other match. So we will update the score as well, and see if either contestant has entered in, and neither one has. I don't think. I'll take a quick look to see. Okay, so J Phoenix has entered in. And we'll see. So yeah, Grumbrindle, if you know if Bilbo is ready to go, Actually, yeah, so okay, so Grumbrundle is saying that he's here, so we will wait on him. And yeah, as we can see, this is going to be the Skaven versus the High Elves for this match. This is definitely going to be Jay Phoenix's main faction, so we'll be going quite the show, though High Elves do have quite the tools to deal with the Skaven forces. It can be a fairly even match, but we will see how things shake off. All right, so it looks like Bilbo has sent me a friend request. Oh, so okay, so this is Bilbo then. All right, so Lamous Moon is going to be Bilbo Bagoge. And the next map is also going to be Oakenhammer for this one. Hey Ronan, welcome to the stream. Hope you enjoy the show. And yes, I still have the lineup, so both players are in, and we are just going to get the show on the road here. So it looks like at least Bilbo is ready to go. And I'm pretty sure Jay Phoenix is going to be ready. He's doing quite the build strategies earlier on, so he should have a good idea on what he's going to be bringing today. So for those who are going to be doing the 2v2s and 3v3s, I would advise that your graphic settings are going to be dropped to medium at least, and I'll be doing that after these 1v1s are done to kind of avoid any and all lags that we may be experiencing. I'm not sure if that's going to help as much, but during a few of recent streams by Hair of Carthage, he was mentioning to have everyone have their settings down a little lower to assist in that regards. So we'll do our best to keep everything nice and smooth. Alright, Jay Phoenix is ready to go. He will get things going. A0 and R4, welcome to the stream. So yeah, so this is our third 1v1 match of the day for those just joining in. First two matches have been won by RTK, and this next match is going to be Skaven versus the High Elves. So yeah, Lamous Moon is Bilbo Bagoge. Alright, looks like everyone is finally loaded in, and here are the armies for you today. So for the Skaven, being led by Jay Phoenix, we have a Warp Lightning Cannon we have Lord Skrolk as his lord, and he's going to be bringing Vermintide, Pestilent Birth, and the Rod of Corruption, as well as the Liber Bubonicus. For the rest of the forces, we have a Hell Pit Abomination, a couple Rat Ogres, we have some Warp Grinders, a front line of Skaven Slaves mixed in with some Skaven Slave Spears, and then Clan Rat Spears, as well as Clan Vulcan Tail Slashers, the ROR unit for the Clan Rats. And we also have a unit of Poison Wind Mortars, Nanny Boo Boo Sharpshooters, and that will wrap up the army. So a fairly decent ranged performance, having the Warp Grinders to help shut down any cav that might get in close to the backline. So they'll pretty much be sitting in between all of the ranged units, and if anything gets close, they'll just get their nice snare going and make sure everything stays nice and put, and then get some summons on the top of those, and hopefully that will clear out their backline. Now for the High Elves, we have right now at least a front line of Lothern Sea Guard all the way up and down the line. So we have 5 of those in the back. We have a couple units of archers, and then rangers as far as the eye can see, so 5 units of those. For the Lord, we have a Mage of Metal bringing, looks like, just the Plague of Rust and Teclis up on his bird with Net of Amnatok. Looks like we have Enfeebling Foe, and of course we have this Potion of Koroi as well. And that will wrap up the army there. So yeah, the Rangers will trade very well into any of the Skaven infantry. And yes, we also have 2 Illyrian Reavers for the mobility. Actually, it looks like we have 3 of them. But yeah, the Rangers will do very well against pretty much all of the Skaven troops. There isn't really anything to elite. You don't have any, like Council Guard is not there. But the ranged, like especially the mortars, are going to do quite a number on a lot of these troops, especially the tightly packed Lothern Sea Guard and archers, and the very low armored rangers. And then the Nanny Boo Boo Sharpshooters should do decently into Teclis, as well as the Warp Lightning Cannons. But otherwise, we'll see how things go. I think the High Elves definitely have enough tools to quickly break through the front line of the Skaven. But I will say they are ready to start when yeah, we take a look at the armies. We have almost 1,500 rats on the field and just over 1,000 High Elves. But yeah, as I said, I think the Rangers are going to do very well as long as they can avoid taking too much damage. I think, yeah, the Port Lightning Cannon going in on these Illyrian Reavers are going to be very kind of their choice target, as well as these Nanny Boo Boos. I think, yeah, they probably won't be shooting too much into Teclis. He should be able to dodge a fair amount of them if the Bilbo's Micro is on top of things. Though those shots do look like they are trying to find their way into Teclis, as these Poison Wind Mortars are pushing up a little bit to get some ranged firepower down range, and Skrolk is also trying to push up. I think he's going to get some summons out. A tactic that you'll see often by Hadries with the Skaven as well, where he'll just kind of get some summons out to delay the incoming forces for as long as possible. Actually, a net going down on these Clan Rats, I think that may be a little bit of a waste there. They're not really a threat. I mean, yes, they try and it's pretty much a delay tactic, but we'll see how things go. I don't think you'll want to save your magic for as long as you can. And yeah, the Illyrian Reavers are kind of staying back a little bit, kind of staying out of range of the Nanny Boo Boo Sharpshooters, allowing them to at least maybe come in unnoticed, trying to get into the back line, though there is a very nice box here for the Skaven. Now the front line is really open as more troops are now pushing in to these Rangers. Clan Vulcan Tail Slashers as well, getting up into things. Plague of Rust upgraded, going down. I think that is maybe not the best target to be using that on. I mean, their armor wasn't exactly too great to start with, but it is now at 0. Poison Wind Mortars do some decent damage into all the Sea Guards. So the Skaven Slaves are now on top of them, shutting them down, at least for the time being. Skaven are routing back into their own box, so that's actually pretty much the ideal direction for them. More summons, actually a summon of Plague Monks coming in to deal with the Rangers, and I think they will actually do fairly well. And because now I think we can take a look at that Plague Rust is still active. but we do have a net going down on these Rat Ogres as the Illyrian Reavers do collapse on them, so that's actually a pretty good catch for them. Get these Rat Ogres off the field, and that is the mobility for the Skaven. Though we'll see if they're able to route them in time. They are wavering. It doesn't look like these spears are going to be trying for them. They are going to be trying to hold the line against these Illyrian Reavers who are now charging in, looking to get these Poison Wind Mortars and the Warp Lightning Cannon offline. But one does route, and the Hell Pit is coming in, as here is the Warp Grinders, and we'll be seeing that snare any second now, as there it goes, locking these Illyrian Reavers in place, allowing for kind of just these... There's not a whole lot actually supporting him right now, but the Rat Ogres are now coming in, as well as these Clan Rat Spears. And actually, yeah, the Natty Boopers are taking quite a bit of shots right now from all of this archer fire. Even though the balance power is in the Skaven's favor right now, so they've taken apart a lot of the front line, though there is a ton of archers available for the High Elves, and they should be able to kite away fairly effectively, even if the rest of their front line kind of crumbles a bit and you still have Teclis up in the sky. If you at least eliminate the Natty Boo sharpshooters and these Warp Lightning Cannons who are actually going down to that fire, that's really a lot of the threats. You still have the Hell Pit, and you still have Skrulk. Skrulk's not exactly going to stand up against Teclis on his bird, but that Hell Pit will definitely put up a good fight. Lord Skrulk, with the assistance of his Clan Rat Spears, are able to break a Ranger unit as the Assassin is hunting for that Mage of Metal. Take that. I mean, it's the only... I guess it's not really all too beneficial here, so it's not the biggest loss. But Teclis is getting on top of the Assassin now as Natty Boo sharpshooters are firing in, and here comes the Hell Pit. Though it looks like the Assassin is routing as well. Teclis not able to finish the job. He is trying now to protect, but the Mage of Metal does shatter to a volley of the Natty Boo sharpshooters. Another net going down over here, blocking in the Clan Rat Spears and Skrulk himself from getting any closer to the range forces, as Teclis does come in for a nice strike onto Lord Skrulk without a whole lot of support. We do have the Hell Pit over there, though he is a little far away, and I don't know if he'll even be able to get here in time to save Skrulk at this time. There is not a whole lot of firepower. We have the Rat Ogres are coming in, and the Assassin as well. We'll see how much damage Teclis is able to do on Skrulk in the meantime. Skrulk trying to pull out, as the spears do hold up Teclis long enough for him to get away without taking too much damage. And in comes the rest of the Skaven forces to do as much damage as they can to Teclis. If we take a look out at the rest of the forces, the Warp Lightning Cannons were not able to get pushed off by the ranged firepower of the High Elves. And there is not a whole lot left for them. We have this one unit of archers here. These Lothran Seaguard are being at least shut down for the time being by these Clan Rats. It's really just Teclis left. I don't think he can deal with that Hell Pit. Though if he does take out Skrulk here, that will be a very good beneficial help for them. We'll see, but he is getting a little distracted by the Clan Vulcan Tail Slashers as he is trying to pull out, as the Hell Pit does come in with the assistance of the Assassin. So pretty much Skrulk just has to stay within the range of the Assassin and the Hell Pit, and Teclis isn't really going to be able to dive in, and the Warp Lightning Cannon will be able to continue getting some shots off onto him, and pretty much the rest of the Skaven forces are going to be able to kind of hunt down the remainder. Some nice shots connecting against Teclis. His balance power now is very much in the Skaven's favor. We'll see, though. Yeah, I don't think Teclis now can deal with the Hell Pit on his own, and he doesn't have enough range support to assist as well, as Bilbo will withdraw, and J Phoenix will take this match for RTK as well. Yep, GG to both contestants. Yeah, I think pretty much the inability to shut down, I think it was pretty much the Poison Wind Mortars and Warp Lightning Cannons did a lot of work, especially against the Cav, who just weren't able to get on their targets. And even when they did try, they had the Warp Grinders are able to shut them down very effectively. But yeah, that will be that match. And our next match is going to be Tex and let's see, Mercernick. So if you guys are here, feel free to jump on in. Lobby is open. And we will update the scoreboard. All right, so we have one contestant has entered in. We are just waiting on Tex, who I don't know if I actually have on my friends list or not. Let's see. Do not see him, so all right, get a invite to him. All right, well, while we are waiting for Tex, we'll get our next map, and it's going to be Altdorf Outskirts. And yes, this is going to be Lizardmen versus the Vampire Coast. Vampire Coast, I would definitely say, has the advantage in this matchup. But we'll see what Tex is able to bring. He does play quite a bit of lizards, so he should have a decent answer. All right. Alright, so for those who are just joining, yeah, this is going to be our fourth match of the day. Take a quick... Looks like Tex will be joining us shortly. Alright, just a quick little rule clarification for Tex. And yeah, he is loaded in, so we should be getting underway fairly soon. Again, this is the fourth match. First three matches have been won by RTK. Yeah, so for Altdorf Outskirts, this map does allow for at least some of the Lizardmen army to probably advance a little bit unseen. It's not as open as a lot of other maps are, so that'll be at least a little bit of an assistance to the Lizardmen, though I think the Vampire Coast has quite a few tools to deal with pretty much anything that the Lizardmen can bring. Just depends on if they'll bring enough of the counters for whatever build that Tex decides to grace us with. Alright, so Mercernik has been ready, or Mr. Cernik. Alright. Looks like both contestants are ready to go. I guess we'll have the Vampire Coast is actually going to be deploying on this side. I suppose when you look at either side, there's not really too much of a disadvantage being on one side or the other. You do have this little ridge, so actually if the coast was on the other side, though, it does look like we have a little bit of fun here. We have Queen Bess for the Vampire Coast, as well as a couple Carronades units. So we're going to have some big guns today, and actually that looks like a lot of guns. We have quite a few guns here, so we have just pretty much everything. The only thing that does not shoot is we have a couple zombie pirate deckhand mobs, and we have the scurvy dog unit as well. And for the Lord, we have, it looks like that's Noctilus on foot, and he is going to be bringing, of course, Drowned Dead Invocation, and then Wraithstorm and Captain's Wrath's Moondial. So we have one. Yeah, for the front line, we have 4 zombie pirate gunnery mobs. Behind them, we have 4 bombers. Then we have couple units of handguns, as well as the gunnery right to keep their ammo nice and high. And we have Queen Bess, as well as 2 Carronades. Now for the Lizardmen side, we have a front line. Well, I guess not really a front line. We have an initial skirmishing force of Chameleon Skinks. We'll actually take a lot of the shots from the Vampire Coast fairly well. A couple Pterodon Riders. We have a Stegodon, 2 of those. And we have some Skink cohorts as well. And we have a Ancient Salamander with the Umbral Tide ROR unit for the Salamander hunting pack. And the back line being more Skinks with Javelins. So actually both sides going pretty much all ranged, and the Lord is going to be a Slann Mage Priest of high magic, bringing that in case you see Luther on his mount, because we do have, it looks like we have Apotheosis, a Hand of Glory, and we have Tempest, and of course the Aura of Quetzal, but then the Bound Banishment. So yeah, it's going to be a very much ranged firepower. One of them is going to have a bit more of an impact than the other, though a lot of the forces, especially the Chameleon Skinks, are going to have a nice bit of missile resist. Well, the Scurvy Dogs, if they're... I mean, I think they get those Scurvy Dogs shut down fairly quickly for the Lizardmen, since that is going to be a bit of a threat to a lot of their Skinks, though I think they also have a lot of range support. So even if one unit does get caught, it'll be able to get shot down fairly quickly. But will the Lizardmen get close enough to even get into this line? Look at all of those guns. Quantity is a quality, all their own. So it looks like at least Mercennik is ready, and Tex should be ready as well. So I'll let them know you can start when ready. As Queen Bess opens up, lobbing the first shot downtown. We'll see if it is able to make connection, and it does land away from the target, which was the Chameleon Skinks, so it does hit the Stegodon. Hand of Glory going down on it, getting a nice reload skill, so that's going to be shooting. I think the Stegodons, let's see, they have very good range, I do believe, so they have 360 range. If they get in range of that Queen Bess is going to go down very, very fast, and they are firing in Just hitting, I don't think that hit the model itself, but I think only a few shots is all it's going to take down Queen Bess. Queen Bess does not have a very good HP pool, especially in an RD duel. So a few shots, and I mean, most of the shots right now are just actively going through the crew of the Queen Bess. So I wonder which will drop first, the crew or Queen Bess herself. Though Queen Bess seems to be at least dodging, I wouldn't say dodging, at least avoiding some of the shots that are coming in. But I think it's only a matter of time. I think only a few shots is going to be going off from Queen Bess before either the crew or the artillery piece goes down, as they are starting to crumble. I don't think it is quite worth it to cast anything on top of them. An indication, I think, went down on the wrong target there, as Queen Bess does go down. I think, yeah, I only saw 1 or 2 shots come in, and now the Stegodon is going to be turning their attention towards the cannons, and the cannons are actually firing in to the Stegodons as well, though they probably will not win that engagement, as the Vampire Coast is now pushing forward after the loss of the Queen Bess and realizing that the cannons are probably going to be going down as well to the Stegodons, so they do need to get in range of the Lizardman forces. Shots raining in to this one unit of gunnery mods. Now these aren't handguns, so they will be doing but with these firepower from the Umbral Tide, a banishment going down into the middle of things. I don't know if that was quite a miscast, but it was just cast right in the middle of some units. Was probably hoping to catch these black spot as they were approaching. But yes, Mercer Nick does notice that banishment going down and pulls his units away, so that banishment does not connect with any of their targets. At least one of the bombers is starting to go down, and the scurvy dogs are on the prowl for some chameleon skinks. Cannons firing into the Salon Mage Priest, trying to get as much damage as they can. If we take a quick look at what the cannons have, they do have 2 of their artillery pieces still up and running. 1 just goes down, so they have 4 cannons still online. We have some gunnery mobs starting to push forward, trying to get in range of either the Umbral Tide, or it looks like they are firing into the Chameleon Skinks. And again, the Chameleon Skinks will tank that fairly well, for despite their kind of very low armor, they have that nice missile resist. But the bombers, if they were able to get some shots in, would have been able to do quite a bit of damage. Scurvy dogs have caught out 1 Chameleon Skinks, but they are starting to crumble. I think a few shots from these Pterodon riders were able to help that happen. If we take a look at the other flank, which is going a little bit better for the Vampire Coast, getting some nice shots into these skink cohorts with javelins. Though yeah, the Chameleon Skinks are able to trade very well into the, especially just the gunnery mob, as this skink cohort is just getting absolutely torn to pieces. And we'll take another look at what the cannons are doing. So this one has lost all of its units. This one is still at 3, and they are firing in, though Wraith Storm going down to the Salon Mage Priest, who has taken quite a bit of damage from the cannons, as Noctis is pushing fairly far forward, getting a summon stone from Goblin's Wrath and Moondial, trying to push off the Stegodon, who has used pretty much all of its ammo. I don't know if the Stegodons actually have enough ammo left to deal with the last cannons, though they have pretty much paid for themselves being able to deal with Queen Bess and at least one of the cannon units. Umbral Tide getting some nice fire into the black spot, but the Pterodons are also taking quite a bit of firepower from them as well. So should be getting out of range, but into the range of some more units, as more handguns and gunnery mobs are going to open up onto them. Stegodon trying to screen out once again some more units from the Salon Mage Priest, as yeah, pretty much the Vampire Coast has probably spread out a little too far, as they're getting focused down. At least the Vampire Coast left flank is going down fairly quickly. The advance power is still very even. Noctis is going to be quite the threat to deal with. Not a whole lot that can do enough damage to him, I think. You do have the 2 Stegodons, but if we take a look at the artillery department, these cannons still have 2 shots left, or 2 artillery pieces, and are able to continue firing in. I don't know what they are targeting. Looks like they are targeting the Salon Mage Priest still. And a banishment going down right into the middle of this formation of gunnery troops, and that is going to do quite a bit of damage. A very nice cast, much better than that first one, though I think enough should be able to survive, and they're pretty much all going to be turning to fire on the Stegodon, I believe. We do have some of these deckhand mobs starting to push forward a bit trying to get into these chameleon skinks, but yeah, pretty much all of the Lizardman forces is going to be quite a bit faster, so any engagement they don't want to be in can be fairly easy for them to avoid. More shots coming in from the black spot onto the Stegodon. They are almost down, they are still crumbling, but they probably don't want to be taking any of that more damage than they have to, as the skink cohorts are trying to shut them down for good. Stegodon getting on top of the cannon crew, though that is not going to be much lost for the Coast. Coast actually is starting to go up in the balance of power a little bit, I think, with the damage that the Slann Mage Priest has taken from the cannons. And again, there's not a whole lot left that can deal with Noctilus. We do have some sources of fire damage, but I mean, this Ancient Salamander isn't really much of a combat, or yeah, of a melee combatant. And yeah, the Slann Mage Priest does not want to be engaged with Noctilus or anything like that. It needs to get to kind of either behind some units to avoid the cannon fire, which I believe is still firing in. Actually, no, the Pterodons have gotten on top of the cannons, finally shutting them down, so that is going to be very good for the Lizardmen, just catching that as those cannons go down. If we take a quick look up, we have the Gunnery Right, who's going to be able to pluck away get lots of shots on. I think the Pterodons might want to actually get on top of that Gunnery Right, being able to get him out of the picture. But it looks like Noctilus is actually engaging with at least one of the Stegodons. He is a very, very tanky lord. He should be able to take a lot of damage. He is actually receiving quite a bit. He does have some summons as well, as a Hand of Glory with some nice melee attack buff onto the Stegodon is going to be very helpful, as another Captain's Wrath Moondial is going to be dropping a little summons to kind of muck things up for the Lizardmen as Noctilus does pull out. The Salamander is quickly in pursuit, as balance power is now going actually into the Lizardmen's favor, with the cannons being shut down and the Gunnery Right now being also shut down by the Umbral Tide and getting some shots from the Pterodon Riders. And Noctilus is in hot pursuit of the Slann Mage Priest, a Wraith Storm taking that Slann down very, very low. That Slann needs to get out of there, as the monstrous units for the Lizardmen are coming to assist. Kind of kicking Noctilus to and fro right into the skink cohort. Slann Mage Priest getting fairly close to Noctilus. It wouldn't take much to just take a couple hits from him, and down he will go. As the Gunnery White is taking quite a bit of damage from this Stegodon. He will probably be going down fairly soon, but yeah, it looks like the support for Noctilus is dropping fairly quickly. Some units are routing for the Lizardmen, but for the most part, I think that the Lizardmen are going to be able to pull this one back, as Noctilus pretty much stands alone at this point. The shield of the Old One's going down to help protect the Ancient Salamander and the rest of the engagements. Slann does need to try and avoid things as much as possible. We do have some support coming in from some skink cohort and the chameleon skinks, and the Pterodons will also be able to help out with that as well. But yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap things up for the Coast. We just have some polearm units, and the rest of the units are starting to falter fairly heavily, as these Lizardmen are getting a nice surround off on whatever is left, and Noctilus is going to be standing alone against all of these lizards. So he has been able to tank damage very well, though that charge from the Stegodon taking off a nice chunk of his health. I think, yeah, getting the two Stegodons on top of Noctilus is probably going to be a little too much for him. Noctilus isn't going to be able to get onto that Slann, and I think that is going to wrap things up, but we will see how he's able to fend off all of these troops. If he does have any summons left, that could be very helpful to help give him a little bit of support in melee, but the fact that we haven't seen any so far, I think he is probably either out of Magicka or has used up all of his summons for the match, and it looks like he is going to start crumbling away fairly soon. He is still wavering, but they will concede, and Tex will take this fourth 1v1 match. So yeah, I think the Stegodons were a very good pick, and I think Queen Bess was a very risky pick indeed, only getting a few shots off, Actually, I think it may have only gotten 1 or 2. Cannons actually did quite a bit of damage to the Slann. The Stegodons just didn't have quite enough ammo to deal with all of that. But yeah, the Ancient Salamander getting 250 kills, Umbral Tide getting 200 as well. I mean, it is to a bunch of zombies, but that is still quite a few units taken care of from just those two. But yeah, that will be our match. And now we are going to be doing the 2v2s. So if we take a look at the lineup, the next match will be Jay Phoenix and Barba Papa against the Mihawk and Bilbo Baggage. So it's going to be Greenskins and Tomb Kings versus Dark Elves and Skaven. So I'm going to recreate this lobby. I'm going to drop down my settings a little bit. And we will get this next match started. So we're going to drop things down to medium and make sure unit size is still at large. And yeah, I would advise everyone else to drop theirs down to medium as well, who are joining in for these 2v2s and a 3v3 match. Alright, so I have hosted the new lobby. So for the next contestants are free to join in. Actually, it looks like we have some messages to check on. Okay, so it looks like one of RTK's members is not here yet. We're still waiting on Barba Papa, so we will see if he gets here soon. Otherwise, we will go to the second 2v2, which is Prussian Prince and Majutsu against Predator and Grombrindle. So I believe at least that those teams are here. I think I've seen everyone. So let's take a quick look and see if anyone has joined in. It's actually Kafka's here. Okay, so yeah, Kafka will be playing for our missing contestant, and let's see, pop up. Okay, if it shows up, there it is. All right, so yeah, now we have our next contestants up. So yeah, Greenskins, Tomb Kings versus Lizardmen and Dark Elves. So take a quick look at what map we have to bring. And this next one is going to be Languil. So we will get that sorted. And hopefully everything runs nice and smoothly. Oh, right, funds. Funds are going to be a little different for So yeah, for the 2v2s, it's going to be 10,000 funds per player, a max of 3 heroes per team. So no duplicate named characters, max of 3 summonings and spells and abilities per team, max 1 net ability per team. It includes 60% or greater slows, and a minimum of 600 models must be taken for the 2v2s. We'll update the score as well. So yeah, now these 2v2s and 3v3 are going to be worth a little bit more points than all the 1v1s so far. Can I do custom? Oh, there we go. I haven't ever done anything other than large. Yeah, I'm not sure what pretty much any of the other funds except for large are. So yeah, we do have it now set how it should be. We're at 10,000 funds. And it'll be interesting to see what kind of synergies these armies are going to be bringing today. I've not done a whole lot of 2v2s, so this will be quite a fun experience for us all. So yeah, let's see. For Skaven, we're probably going to be the ranged firepower. For that team, Dark Elves going to have quite the bit better frontline troops, and they're going to have a decent cavalry as well. While the Greenskins and Tomb Kings, I mean, both sides have decent all-around units. I think you definitely have a little bit higher quality cav on the Tomb King side, so you might be seeing a bit of that. I don't know if we'll probably won't be seeing a casket, but we're probably going to be seeing at least some form of artillery. Yeah, we probably will not be seeing a casket, potentially not even artillery at all, because the Dark Elves and Skaven have some pretty good answers to both sides. Yeah, Langville is I'd say it's a medium-sized map. It's got a nice terrain to work with. We'll see how the two armies are going to be fitting in to this map. Take a quick look at the following maps. Looks like we have Cliff of Beasts for the next 2v2, and then Peak Pass, which is a nice large map. Be able to fit those 3v3s fairly decently into that one. Though we'll see how everyone's systems are going to be able to run that large of a scale battle, but it should be good fun. I'm sure both teams are conversing with one another on what builds to bring. Yeah, so far matches have gone fairly quickly. So just 3 left to go, but they should be the most exciting and large-scale battles of the day. Looks like one army is at least readied up. So just waiting on the RTK players, and we should be all good to go. So SOTM, I believe, is Son of the Mountain, or Sons of the Mountain, I believe is what that stands for. So that is Grumbrindle's clan, and that is going to be a lot of them. I think play. I think it's a lot of people who play dwarves in that clan, but we have a few of them today. So both sides are now ready, so let's get this loaded up. Hopefully it doesn't take too long and everything does still run nice and smooth. As I said, if it does lag a bit, we will push through and I will cast those throughout the week, if that is the case. All right. I can hear the greenskin army. So it looks like at least the greenskins seem to have loaded in. I hear quite a few goblins and a few orcs mixed into that. Actually, the settings feel like they've changed. Nope, they're still at what they were. Feels like it was a little quicker movements. Alright, so we have all loaded in eventually. So we shall see how these armies are able to work together. We do have some Screaming Skull catapults brought by the Tomb Kings. The Tomb Kings are being led by Arkan the Black. He is going to be bringing Spirit Leech, Fate of Buna, and then the Libra Mortis, Staff of Nagash, and the Tomb Blade of Arkan. Pretty standard kit for him. He is on horseback. For the rest of the forces, we have some skeleton spearmen and skeleton warriors, as well as the Nehecaran warriors and a unit of Tomb Guard. We have some Ushapti great bows as well. Let's see if I missed any other of the Tomb King forces. We actually do have a casket today, so we'll see if the Skaven or Dark Elf forces have a answer to that. We have some Nehecaran horsemen, and for the green skins now, we have Black Orcs, Savage Orc Biggins, some very strong infantry forces, the 8 Peak Loonies, and for some skirmishing forces, we have the Morgrub's Mangy Marauders, as well as some Forest Goblin Spider Rider Archers, a couple units of those, as just some regular Forest Goblin Spider Riders. The rest of the mobility is going to be some Orc Boar Biggins. We have a Giant River Troll Hag bringing, let's see, a few things there. We have Grom the Paunch. Let's see what he has for his kit. So he is just bringing Language of the Boys. The Great Nun is here, and his Lucky Banner. So yeah, the River Troll Hag did have Spirit Leech as her spell. Now for, I guess I still need that up, for the Skaven and Dark Elf forces, we have Malekith up on his Seraphon mount. It looks like there's a few things being brought to the table. Power of Darkness. He has Soul Stealer and Gaze of Malice. Now, if we take a look at there is the Skaven Lord. We have Lord Skrulk in the back, and he is going to be bringing Vermintide for Clan Rat summons, Pestilent Birth for some Plague summons, Rod of Corruption, and Liber Bubonicus. For now, the front line for the Skaven Dark Elf forces, we have the Skaven Slaves with spears up front, and behind them we have some Blackheart Corsairs to kind of munch through some infantry. They'll do well against the Tomb King forces, but we'll see how well they do against the Greenskins. We have Clan Vulcan Tail Slashers. We have some Dark Shards kind of scattered about. We have a unit of Witch Elves, some Reaper Bolt Throwers, which will do well against the artillery pieces, Natty Poopa Sharpshooters, Poison Wind Mortars, always good against some infantry factions. We have some Plagueclaw Catapults, and some mobility in the Rat Ogres, a couple units of those. We have some Cold One Knights, Skaven Slave Spears in the back, and I think that is going to pretty much wrap things up for these forces. I think the Breaker Bolt Throwers, if they're able to get in range of the casket or the other artillery pieces, should be able to do fairly well. I think Sharpshooters won't be able to get in range to help with that department, but they'll do well against kind of the cavalry forces of the Tomb Kings and Greenskins. But that will wrap things up for the two armies, and we shall get things underway when both armies are set. I'll just say start when ready. So I have to take a look at that spell from Malekith, though they might be getting started fairly quick. So yes, the Power of Darkness. So yeah, a few charges of that. Greatly increases power reserves. Wait a minute. With slaves, that target, oh, it's target self or ally. So yeah, you can just drop those on those Skaven slaves, drain them, get some nice power reserves back. That is what the Skavens are there for. They are there to die. A few repositionings by these forces. See if I missed any of the units. I don't think I did. I just have to got some more Dread Spears in the back. But yeah, the Blackheart Corsairs will do fairly well. And I think looks like they're pretty much set, so that timer is counting down, and we are underway. I mean, both sides have a fair distance to go. If we take a quick look at the ranged reaches of both armies, it looks like the forces of the Skaven and Dark Elves do have a little bit of an advantage in the ranged, at least with how things are set up, so they'll be able to start firing in before the Tomb King's artillery is able to open up. But I think with how deep these formations are, the Casket and the Screaming Skull Catapults may be able to stay fairly safe from the Reaper Bolt Throwers. I think only 2 units of those shouldn't pose a threat to all of those units, but the Poison Wind Mortars are starting to open up, as well as the Plagueclaw Catapult. Things look to be running fairly well, so hopefully that is going to continue. Shots missing their marks as the skirmishing forces of the Greenskins are able to skirt into the forest and avoid those incoming shots. Plagueclaw is opening up once again, probably going to find a few targets. So it actually lands in the middle of these units of Forest Goblin Spider Riders and does miss all of their units. Yeah, looks like we have Spirit Leech. Overcasted is going down from Arkan, by the looks of things, on top of Lord Skrulk. Did I miss a Hell Pit in here? I don't think I did. Oh, you meant for the power of darkness. Yeah, skirmishers are firing in to these Blackheart Corsairs. Nothing. I mean, you do have the Reaper Bolt Throwers and the Dark Shards, which will be able to turn and fire. Dark Shards will actually do quite a bit better. Actually, looks like the Reaper Bolt Throwers are just kind of pulling back, trying to get out of range of the skirmishers, make sure that they are still able to continue firing in. Tomb Kings are just content with sitting back and firing in their Screaming Skull Catapults into the front line. They are just hitting the Skaven Slaves, but the effect from the Screaming Skull Catapults is a discouraged effect, so it'll have a nice an extra reduction to leadership in addition to the being fired on by artillery. And it looks like they are trying to pull back the Skaven Slaves to kind of pull in these Tomb King forces as much as possible, though wow, a lot of damage going down on the Poison Wind Mortars as a Spirit Leech Overcasting goes down, taking out a few of their models, or actually I don't see any models being dropped. Literally just taking a ton of damage, and there goes some models. We have now 8 down. But another Spirit Leech is going to finish those off fairly quickly. So yeah, they need to try and stay out of range, but an Overcasted Spirit Leech has quite the long reach, as now the casket is starting to open up, as the Nandy-Boo-Boos are also starting to fire in. Just probably, it looks like Grom the Punch has gotten in to at least in range of them, so he'll be taking some shots, though he probably shouldn't be too worried about that. He might take some damage. He does have regen, and he should actually be able to dodge it fairly decently from that range. Poison Wind Mortars, Horrors of the Pieclaw is firing into the Savage Orc Brigands. That is actually a decent target for them. Have taken quite a bit of damage, and that is a very strong frontline infantry with low armor, so any damage on them will do very good. So yeah, Poison Wind Mortars have been hiding in the forest now to avoid any more Spirit Leeches. A little slow down there, but otherwise things are still going fairly decently. Grom has actually gotten into the Skaven Slaves. Corsairs trying to come in to hopefully maybe pin him down, but it looks like he will be able to avoid all of that. Another Spirit Leech on the Nandy-Boo-Boo Sharpshooters this time. Nice long range, taking off quite a bit of models from them, as you see those models just bleed away. 17 now. You're probably going to lose a couple more on top of that. Nope, just down to 17. That is still a considerable amount of damage dealt to them, and a reduction in the firepower to come out into the direction of the Tomb King and Greenskin forces. Hey, Viking and David White Lizard, welcome. More shots from the casket firing into the Dark Shards, and now the Reaper Bolt Throwers are opening up, and we see they are targeting the Great Bows by the looks of things, and it looks like some are targeting Arkan himself. I think either at this point, though, the ammo that is being fired off, let's see where these fire shots are coming in. Honestly, going into the Shafty Great Bow isn't necessarily a bad idea. If they're able to land targets on them, they haven't used any of their ammo yet. So being able to whittle those down as much as they can would be very helpful. I mean, both of these Screaming Skull Catapults, which generally is the ones that the Reaper Bolt Throwers would end up targeting, they've already used half their ammo. So if you target, but it looks like the Reaper Bolt Throwers themselves are being focused down from the Screaming Skull Catapults, and another Spirit Leech down onto the Poison Wind Mortars, dropping down to 6 units and causing the waver. One more Spirit Leech on them will be enough to, I think it'll just finish them off straight away. Actually, we have Grom has gotten caught out a little bit by Malekith, taking quite a bit of damage. As long as he's able to pull out, though, he has plenty of healing to be done, as the Nandy-Boo-Boo Sharpshooters are firing into his back at this point. River Troll Hag poking her nose out of the forest, as these Cold War Knights have already jumped on top of these Forest Goblin Spider Riders, and they are wavering, and they very well might be routing right off the map without being able to take too much damage. So it looks like they are pulling away a little bit from the Cold War Knights. More shots going into Grom, but he is going to be taking that fairly well. And now the Screaming Skull Catapults have focused their fire now onto the Reaper Bolt Throwers, as they are converging onto them, as that should be enough to at least make them rout. The other Reaper Bolt Thrower has come back, as the skirmishing on the far side, these forces have taken a bit of damage and dealt out some, but again, just to Skaven Slaves for the most part. I think a little bit to the Blackheart Corsair, though I think that was the Casket's work from earlier on. Looks like we have the Ushapti starting to push forward a little bit. We take a look at its range, it is going to start getting in range of some of the forces, such as the Clan Vulcan Tail Slashers, and it might even be getting in range of the Reaper Bolt Throwers itself to assist in pushing it off. But it looks like it's just going to be going into the forest for now to avoid any more incoming fire. And yeah, these Reaper Bolt Throwers are going to be routing. They are wavering. Take a look at their leadership. It is coming back a little bit, and back up to 22. But the more shots are going to start raining in, making contact, and causing another drop in leadership. And more, actually, they're still at all 3 artillery pieces. But they are going to be losing a bit of their combat effectiveness. More shots from the Plague Claw going into the Tomb Guard. Another decent target to be firing in on. Very elite force for the Tomb Kings, or as elite as you're going to be getting. As the Reaper Bolt Thrower has started to rout, as these shots will probably be moved towards this unit, as they have lost 1 of their artillery pieces. Again, I feel like these Dark Elves and Skaven, they kind of need to be pushing forward. It should be fairly obvious that they are losing the artillery duel, unless their whole idea is pretty much just to tank the fire, because there isn't a whole lot of shots left from the artillery of the Tomb Kings. They only have a few shots left on Screaming Skull Catapult and on the Casket, when you pretty much allowed them to fire all game. I know you still have the Plague Claws, which are actually almost used up all of their ammo. If the Reaper Bolt Throwers are able to survive, then they might be able to get some decent value off if they are able to survive all of these shots and then start returning fire on like the Ushabti or any of the other maybe more elite troops. If they are now firing into some Savage Archbiggins into the forest, though they are firing into the forest, I think there are some other decent targets, such as these units up here where you got some Tomb Guard and Savage Archbiggins. Only, I think, maybe 1 more shot left on the Screaming Skull Catapults. It does look like that is the case. A very patient battle, though, so far on both sides. Very slight advantage to the Tomb Kings and Greenskins. Those might as well still be right down the center. I think having Malekith is going to be a fairly tough nut to crack. You do have Ushabti to assist in that. I mean, I think the Black Orcs, though, are going to be very good here. Not a whole lot of armor piercing left. All the range, like the Natty Boo Boo sharpshooters, have used up pretty much all of their ammo. You will have the Cold Wind Knights, which could provide some assistance, but Malekith himself will do well in that engagement as well. Alright, so it looks like the ammo is starting to be spent. So all the ammo from the Screaming Skull Catapults have been used, as well as the Casket. So now we're going to see a little bit of the melee Roomba. He has gotten 1 Chevron, so doing a good amount of damage there. Grom has healed pretty much back up to full from the earlier damage he took, and he is back in, and there is no other ranged firepower to contest. At this point, yeah, I think both sides have pretty much used up their ammo. I mean, you have some of the Reaper Bolt Throwers are still firing, so at least one unit was able to survive the onslaught. It does have only 2 artillery pieces left. I don't see the other one. And we do have just some Dark Shards is the only other ranged support for these Dark Elf and Skaven forces. Ushabti are about half ammo, so they'll be able to get some shots in. It looks like they are firing in to Malekith by the looks of things. And not a whole lot of spells have been used on the Skaven and Dark Elf side at this point. Pretty much, I mean, the Tomb Kings and Greenskins have been pretty much spamming Spirit Leeches for the most part, taking out the Poison Wind Mortars and doing some good damage to the Natty Boo Boo Sharpshooters. Some loons going down right through these Clan Vulcan Tail Slashers. Very good cast, as they are able to just chew through that deployment. They will be taking about half damage there. I don't think they had taken too much from earlier on, but the melee is about to get underway as you see the Black Orcs with the support of the Savage Orc Biggins, are coming in, and they will make quick work of this frontline infantry. Corsairs should be getting into combat with the Savage Orc Biggins. I think once that is an engagement they'll do fairly decently in, but that charge from the Savage Orc Biggins is fairly considerable. But they were at very low health. Now the Black Orcs, on the other hand, they will be taking very little damage in terms of against those Clan Volk and Tail Slashers. A Plague Monk summons, though, that is going to be quite helpful, getting a nice rear charge into the AP Gloonies. Now, they're not going to suffer a leadership penalty from that, but it will help in whittling them down as much as possible. Malekith has started to take a little bit of damage, and you can see that Grom has taken quite a bit of damage with Lucky Banner, and the Wah has also been popped for him. I think Grom is going to be... He will be hitting his healing cap, but he is also getting close to that. Warp Grinders are getting close, which will be able to at least net down anything getting too far forward, though there's not really a whole lot to worry about. The only, I guess, ranged unit is the Dark Shards left. Everything else has used all of its ammo. So now it'll just be to see if the Tomb Kings and Greenskins are able to break through, and if they have been able to deal enough damage. The Libra Mortis going down, trying to assist. I don't really know what. I think that maybe we should have been grabbed it against the Savage Orc Biggins and the Skeleton Warriors. Not a whole lot of benefit in that particular spot. More shots starting to rain in. Actually, the Orc Boar Biggins have gotten quite a bit of damage dealt to them, and they will probably be routing fairly soon with Malekith being so close and doing so much damage. So the two Necron Horsemen have come to support, trying to at least get a nice pin in of Malekith. And if we kind of swing back, we see actually a rock drop going down right into the middle of these Witch Elves and Black Orc Corsairs, taking quite a bit of damage from them. Though, yeah, they have a nice surround off onto this unit of Necron Warriors, Savage Orc Biggins, and the AP Gloonies. They are all rampaged too, as well, from the Witch Elves, and the Witch Elves are still engaged. I think the Witch Elves would do well to kind of pull out at this point to save their rampaging ability. So they don't need to be lost for nothing, though as you can see, Grom is actually getting very low. He has taken quite a bit of damage, and he can only heal up to a half of his total HP at this point, and Lord Skrulk is still kicking at half HP as well. Malekith, though, I think is going to be the real bunker buster here, because not a whole lot is left that can deal with him. There isn't any of the big constructs from the Tomb Kings that can go head-to-head with him. I think the Black Orcs would be able to maybe whittle him down a bit, and a lot of these spells have been cast as the Warp Grinders casting their snare, getting Grom snared down as Malekith jumps on top of him. So that was a very good use of that snare ability. Although it doesn't look like Malekith is quite able to get his attacks off on him. The Warp Grinder unit's actually providing a bit of a buffer between him, as Grom will survive, though it looks like Libra Boop or Lucky Banner, and there should be Libra Bubonic or Soul Stealer. I thought it was going to be maybe potentially the Libra Bubonicus going down on him, but Lord Skrulk does have actually... So Rod of Corruption cast by Lord Skrulk, as the Shopti are getting into the Dark Shards now, but the Spearmen are going to be quick to assist. And yeah, the balance power is shifting in the favor of the Skaven and Dark Elf forces, despite the shots that they took from all of the artillery. Pretty much all artillery was able to use all of its ammo. I think only the mortars were the only unit that was able to get eliminated before that could happen. Malekith dropping down onto the Giant River Troll Hag. He is definitely going to be winning that engagement, running her over and going to be doing some nice, decent damage as the Libra Mortis is being cast, trying to preserve the Skeleton Warriors and the Necron Warriors as well against Lord Skrulk and the surrounding Rat Ogres. Arkin the Black still doing fairly decent health, but he is now engaged with those Rat Ogres, and it's not going to be very good for him. We have some units kind of in the back that have kind of been forgotten for the time being. Those Ushapti had to use up all their ammo, so they do need to be used in the main engagement if they're going to have any chance. But Lord Skrulk is being pushed off the field right now. If they're able to finish him off, he does have enough health left that if he is able to escape this, he should be fine. Though Grom the Punch, it looks like dodging that breath attack for the most part is very, very low. He has pretty much no healing left. He may already be at his cap from the looks of things, and Harkin is now going to be chasing after Lord Skrulk, but the Rat Ogres are probably going to be able to peel him off from that, though Lord Skrulk has taken a bit more damage, so he is down to 328, so it is very possible that he might not come back with how low he is right now. Rat Ogres are going to be pushing Arkin off of him, so we'll see if we see a return of Skrulk. No, my money is on no, he will not. So we have Rat Ogres and Spears chasing after the Giant River Troll Hag as some more Spearmen from the Tomb Kings are going to assist them, try and peel them off, though Malekith is on the hunt for the Lords of RTK, and he is going to be feasting on Grom, as Grom is going to be wavering very well, might be routing here. Libra Mortis trying to at least protect him, getting a nice physical resist and leadership, but not enough to keep him from routing, and Malekith only needs a single attack to finish him off. No more healing will be seen by Grom, and Arkan is not going to be able to stand much in the way of Malekith. We will see. I think the only way that I see the Tomb Kings and Greenskins coming back is if they're able to eliminate everything on the ground and force Malekith to land. Malekith is going to be the hardest target for them to deal with, and especially now, yeah, Warp Grinders finally netting down Grom, and Malekith finishes him off. Maybe not necessarily needed to be using that in that case right there, but it ensured that Grom went down, and there's not a whole lot left. I mean, now the Rat Ogres will be able to catch Arkan. I don't think there's anything. And a nice Staff of Nagash going down, getting a summon of Skeleton Warriors to assist with Arkan. But yeah, I mean, Malekith came over to deal with Arkan and the Giant River Troll Hag. I don't, even though there's a lot of troops here, I don't know if it's going to be enough, but he is just pretty much eliminating all of the fringe units, so that's probably a very good choice by him. We'll see if the all the forces in the back, we still have these Ushapti and the crews of the Screaming Skull Catapult, as well as the Casket of Souls. I mean, you can maybe potentially see leaving them back there to preserve the army losses, so you're not going to be losing to army losses so quickly. But at the same time, just having more bodies in the way could be very beneficial. So it looks like, yeah, if we take a look at the rest of the forces, I do not see any Black Orcs. I don't see really any elite troops left for the Tomb Kings and Greenskins. Actually, I don't really see any Greenskins forces at all. So I think it is definitely going to be going the way of the Dark Elves and Skaven in this matchup. Nothing, I think, is left that can deal with Malekith. The River Troll Hag is like the only thing left for the Greenskins. Able to push off some Rat Ogres, but I mean, Arkan is pretty much just going to be running from Malekith the entire time. I don't know if there's any even Tomb Guard left that can help. So yeah, Malekith, if he just turns onto Arkan, I think army losses will be soon to follow at that point. You have some Spearmen involved. But yeah, it's just, I don't think there's, even if everything converged on Malekith and every other unit was pulled back by the Skaven and Dark Elves, I don't think they can deal with Malekith on his dragon right now, and it wouldn't surprise me if he had another Soul Stealer left. You have Arkan trying to run away, the Giant River Troll Hag wavering, almost routing there. I think Malekith is going to be able to quickly do that with a nice breath attack coming into the middle of these Spearman units, able to get them down to critical binding as the Rat Ogres pin the Giant River Troll Hag in place and allowing Malekith to come in to finish her off. And she'll probably be routing after a single attack or two, though it looks like the Rat Ogres do rout right as they are engaged, but then my Troll Hag goes down, and army losses, even though Arkan gets a summon in at the last second, that is army losses, and the Dark Elves and Skaven will get their first win, and that will put them up on the board, and they will be getting 2 points for this match. So yeah, very good game indeed. A lot of patience on both sides. All right. GG, well played to both sides. Get that scoreboard updated. And that will be 2 points. Now they're just 1 win away from tying things up. So yeah, now for our next match, we have Prussian Prince and Majutsu against Predator and Grombrindle. It'll be Dwarves and Bretonia versus Greenskins and Beastmen. So if you guys are in the stream, feel free to hop on over. Lobby is open. Okay, so we have Predator and Prussian Prince have joined us today. And let's see, our next map, I did say it was like Cliff of Beasts. It is. I don't think I have seen that map before. It's like a fairly open map, might be a little leaning towards one side, depending on what the deployment zones will look like. So while we wait for everyone else to join in, I will be right back. All right, and we are back. Looks like everyone has loaded in. So yeah, for those who are either just joining, this is our second 2v2. Before that, we had 4 1v1s. RTK has taken the first 4 points from the 1v1 matches, but the Sons of the Mountain have taken the first 2v2 to put themselves on the board with 2 points. So yeah, so far this next match will be worth 2 points, and the 3v3 will be worth 3. So there's a total of 11 points on the board to be taken today. Yes, Sons of the Mountain do need this win if they are going to have a chance at taking the crown today. Regardless of the outcome, we will still be playing that 3v3, of course. That will be a jolly good match to be seen. And I think we should be hopefully getting underway fairly quick. Yeah, Bretonia and the dwarves versus greenskins and the beastmen. So, I mean, for these matchups, I mean, greenskins and the beastmen, I think they would do well against the dwarves, but with having Bretonian mixed in to allow to have their cav forces, I think this is going to be a very fun or a very interesting match. I think Bretonia and the dwarves do work very well together. You have a very elite firepower and infantry of the dwarves, and then the elite cavalry from Bretonia, while you have Greenskins and Beastmen are a very strong rush faction with a lot of very strong tools that can penetrate into the back line. And I think the problem they may have is dealing with some of the cav forces that Bretonia is going to be bringing. We'll see how everyone decides to answer that. So while we wait for them to kind of select their armies, the next 3v3 match that we will be finishing on will be a Wicked Pirate, Baljutsu, Lumiere versus Grombrindle, Predator, and Mercernik. We're going to have a Vampire Coast, Wood Elf, and Empire army against Bretonia, Tomb Kings, and Lizardmen forces. So that is what we have to look forward to after this. Okay, it looks like Prince had to step back for a second, though at least I think his armies are set. So as soon as he gets back, we are able to get things underway, as long as Predator and Grombrindle are also ready. Alright, looks like Prussian Prince is back. So, let's see if, it looks like sound like that was Grombrindle readying up as well. Alright, looks like everyone is ready, so we will get into this next match. So yeah, if RTK is able to win this, they will clinch the title, but otherwise the Sons of the Mountain do need to win if they want a chance at that for the final 3v3. Yeah, we got a little bit of a hill onto one side for this map, but I believe the deployments are going to be kind of along this slope on both sides, so no side should be getting any definitive advantage one way or the other. Do expect to see some of the ranged firepower from the dwarves in this case, as well as a very elite cav force from Bretonia. For the Greenskins and Beastmen, I believe they'll probably end up going for a very much of a rush style play. You could potentially see a skirmishing force, but I don't think against these two factions that's the way to go. So we'll see if they try and just push right on through and break the back of these Bretonians and dwarves. So here are the two forces. Let us start with the Bretonian cav. We have Knights Errant. We have 4 of those. We have 3 Knights of the Realm. Front line for Bretonia, 2 peasant mobs, 3 of those actually, and then we have Peasant Bowmen, 2 of which being the Pox arrows, getting some nice poison onto the field. We have King Lewin up in the sky, and we have a Damsel of Life to be healing up all of the Bretonnian forces, and she's bringing Earthblood and Regrowth. And King Lewin, actually he didn't even bring Sword of Caron, it is just King Lewin on his mount, and that is going to be all that he has brought for his kit. Now the Dwarven forces today, we only have the Goblobbers for the range department, as well as 1 Thunderer unit. The front line is going to be Dwarf Warriors for the most part, and we're going to have 1 Longbeard and 1 Miners with blasting charges. We'll also have 2 Slayers, one of which being the Dragonback Slayers to deal with any of the Cav forces, Minotaurs, the likes. I did see Gotrek and Felix in there, and we will also be having, let's see, who is the Lord today? We have just a Rune Lord, bringing the Rune of Wrath and Ruin. Yes, that is what, to kind of give a nice slow to allow Cav to get their engagement, to allow maybe the Thunderers to open up. But now for the Beastmen and the Greenskins, very mixed forces. We do have a Cygor in here, and the Beastmen are being led by Morgur, the Shadowgave, with both of his Chaos Spawn summons. For the Greenskins, we have Skarsnik with Fermented Fungi, and that is, I believe I want to call it Curse. Yeah, Spite of the Bad Moon. Curse of the Bad Moon is a spell. And yeah, Fermented Fungi, of course. We have the Giant Troll Hag with, we have Mither, of course, giving a nice slow, which is very good against Bretonnia. We have a Blast spell and Spirit Leech. Now for the rest of the infantry department, see if I can make heads and tails of this. We have some Ungor Spearman herds as the Blackhorn Ravagers as well for the front line. For the Greenskins, we have some Night Goblins. Actually, this is an ROR unit, though it does not tell me. It just says Night Goblins. We have some Ungor Spearman herd, some to wrap things up with. For the archers, we have some Night Goblins mixed in with some Ungor Raiders, another Ungor Raiders, and another Night Goblin on the other flank. Backline's going to kind of be a mix of Orc boys with some Black Orcs in the very back, and some more Gore Herd with shields, more Orc Biggins, and the Orc Boar Boy Biggins. Lovely tongue twisters here. And we have 2 Doom Divers catapults as well. They'll actually be able to trade well into the Goblobber that the dwarves have brought. And I think that is everything, as well as some Razor Gore herds to break through. I'm kind of surprised we don't see any chariots. Oh man, those names of the units get my tongue all tied up trying to list them all off. Looks like everyone is ready to go. This will be a very good engagement. So yeah, it looks like how things are being set up. Definitely going to be a cavalry game, I think, for the Bretonnian and Dwarves forces. Really just going to try and I think just hold off the rest and then provide a little bit of support. There's not really an overwhelming firepower from the Dwarves here. They pretty much have a nice stout front line and mixed in with some poison and other arrows, but otherwise the Knights Errant and the Knights of the Realm are going to be the back of this Dwarves and Bretonnian forces. Well, we do have the Cygor, which will be able to break through as long as it's able to get some hits onto the Cav. I think the micro from the Bretonnians are going to try and dodge that, but we'll see if that is able to happen. We have the first shot coming in, landing right in the middle of the Dwarf Warriors, taking out a good chunk of health there as that shot lands right in the middle of their formation. Doom Divers should be singing pretty soon as their shots do fire away. We'll see what they are targeting, as they are going to be landing in to these Dwarf Warriors as well. I think the Dwarven forces and Bretonnia, they do know that they are a little outranged right now. The Goblobber isn't going to be able to outshoot these Doom Divers and the Cygor himself. And the Cygor has moved up a little bit, and he is going to be firing or at least the Gobblobber is firing into some Ungor Raiders, and the Cygor looks like he is going to be returning fire, trying to take out some of the Gobblobber models. And if that boulder does land, I believe it will take out those artillery pieces. So it'll be these Gobblobbers are going to try and fire off for as long as they can. I think it's only a matter of time before they go down. Shots firing into the Doom Divers. We'll see if they're able to break. They do have, I believe, a leadership penalty on those Gobblobbers as well, very similar to the Screaming Skull Catapult, because they have a Screaming Goblin attached to the boulders firing in, so it might be able to at least rout some of these Doom Divers, though they do need to connect for that shot to happen. Another shot coming in, still at 3 artillery pieces, but the cavalry forces are starting to come around. Looks like things are starting to maybe stutter a little bit, but it looks like things are going in. And yes, one of the Doom Divers has routed. Now at least that's going to put a little leave some of the pressure for the time being, though that Gobblobber is still taking quite a few shots. I feel like the Cygor, it may be better if that Cygor is trying to target some of the Cav forces. It does very good damage to them, and to maybe let the Doom Divers focus down that Gobblobber. But right now the Doom Divers do look like they are firing into the infantry forces. Let's see where that shot is going to be raining in. And it is just going into either the Peasant Bowmen or the Slayers. I think that is not the target that it needs to be firing at. It is a very accurate artillery piece, and just firing into some archers. While the archers with pox do provide quite a bit a threat to the large targets, especially with the poison that they inflict. But now if we take a look, the cavalry forces of Bretonnia is getting into things with these Gore Herds and the Razor Gore Herds, as they do get a nice little counter charge onto the Knights Errant, but the Knights Errant will do very well in that engagement, and a nice charge in by these Knights of the Realm, as they do get a nice, or actually the Beastmen, or I guess the Greenskin forces, get a Spite of a Bad Moon, getting armor-piercing weapon damage, and a nice bonus versus large, which is a very good spell to be brought. So I guess I'm missing... Oh, no, that is Spite of the Bad Moon, so that is Scarstick's ability. Now the front line is of these Blackhorn Ravagers is starting to waver. That has stabilized, at least for the time being, as the Dwarf Warriors are trying to push in. A Chaos Spawn summon has gone down, surrounding Gotrek. Gotrek, Felix, and the Rune Lord are all kind of without support right now. They need at least something. I don't know if King Lewin wants to come and assist this engagement. Having King Lewin come in would be quite the benefit indeed, but I think even these Longbeards right here, I think they need to get in and assist their 3 heroes, or to get those Thunderers starting to open up as well. But again, the Gobblobbers seem to be doing fairly well. These Doom Divers are back online for now, but a few more shots and they're going to be routing. So thanks to the Gobblobber, I'm surprised is able to use up pretty much all of its ammo, and by the looks of things, it will be using up all of its ammo. Gotrek is Rampage right now. It is in combat with, or at least around the Cygor, but it is taking a ton of damage. I think things are going, at least in the hero department, things are going well for the Greenskins and Beastmen. But if you take a look on the fringes of the battle, where the Bretonnians are doing all of their work, they are being a little hounded right now by some Razor Gore Herds, and I mean the Gore Herds are trying to chase them off, but it's not going to happen. We do have some Slayers actually have gotten into the back line, and now assisting these Knights of the Realm against the Razor Gore Horde. That's actually going to be very, very helpful, and they are Rampage now into Slayers, so all of these Knights of the Realm, all they have to do is pull out, let those Slayers do their work, and then let the rest of the forces cycle everything to death. And now we take a back look into this center engagement. Gotrek has at least stabilized for now. He may have gotten a healing proc in by the looks of his health. Cygor, though, has taken a ton of damage, as Felix, Gotrek, and the Rune Lord are all just on top of him right now. And now the Longbeards that I had mentioned before have gotten in to assist, as well as the Dragonback Slayers, which is probably where a lot of that damage is coming in. And that Cygor is routing, and the balance of power is going very much in the favor of the Dwarves and Bretonnian forces, as the Giant River Troll Hag also took a bunch of damage in that engagement. And yeah, the Bretonnian forces are pretty much cleaning up shop in the outskirts right now. It looks like those Razor Gore Herds that were engaged with Slayers before got absolutely roasted. I think these, and the Doom Divers is routing as well, and the Gobblobber is going to be using all of its ammo. Surprising that it lasted for as long as it did. I think Cygor should have been firing into the Cav forces, and I think that would have been a big better use of its shots, as Morger now is starting to rout as the 3 heroes and even King Lewin is close by. But yeah, Gotrek, Felix, and the Rune Lord. I mean, Rune Lord not really big of a threat, but Gotrek has gotten also a ton of healing from that Life Caster, actually, probably more likely than getting his own healing. But yeah, Morger is now routing, and there's more than enough mobility to make sure he stays off the field. Shots raining in from these Thunderers, doing some more damage. But yeah, I think that is going to be curtains for the Beastmen and Greenskins forces here. Army losses will be soon to follow, as the last Chaos Spawn is probably going to be disintegrating fairly soon. Morger, the Shadow Cave, is now completely shattered, so that goes the last of the leadership for the Beastmen and Greenskins, as is Skarsnik as well. And that will be our game. Predator does withdraw. We are just waiting on these Chaos Spawn that are all that is left. But yeah, it is a done deal. They will be disintegrating very, very shortly. And that is going to be our game. And RTK will clinch the title, but we will, of course, still be playing the final match. And yeah, the game did run fairly smoothly there, so that is a good plus. We'll see how it works with the 3v3. It's going to be quite the test for everyone's machines, but it should be good fun. Yeah, I think that Cygor, had it fired more of its initial shots, maybe connecting with some of the cavalry, I think it tried to take out that Goblobber, but it just wasn't quite enough. So we'll add some more slots in for the final battle. And if we take a quick look at what is next on the lineup, yeah, of course we have Wicked Pirate, Maijutsu, and Lumiere. All you guys can hop on in. Grombrindle, Predator, and Mercernik. I know Predator just left, so he is up again for this next match. So if you want to hop back in, Predator, if you are listening, and we can get this third match underway, and I believe it is Peak Pass. It is indeed for the next one, and we will also get the scoreboard updated as well. All right, so we are just waiting on Lumiere for our third spot on the RTK forces, and we will get that map set up as well. There we are. Nice big map, plenty of room to maneuver. And double check to make sure the rules for the 3v3. So this is once again 10,000 funds per player, max of 4 heroes per team, no duplicate name characters, max of 3 summoning spells and abilities per team, max of 1 net spell and ability per team, which includes the 60% slows, and we have a minimum of 750 models per team with the 3v3 set. So that is going to be the rules for this engagement. Yeah, this is going to be our final game of the day. And it should be quite a good one indeed. Now we just have to hope that being a 3v3 with myself spectating, that is going to run nice and smoothly. The 2v2s ran fairly well. A couple lags here and there, but otherwise it went fairly well. We are going to be adding in another 20,000 funds total and 2 more players. All right, so for predictions for this, I don't even know where to start. I expect to see a Necrofex Colossus, I would assume, against the Bretonnian forces, or at least some Carronades. You'll probably definitely be seeing the Way Watchers of the Wood Elves. They'll be able to do fairly well against, especially the Lizardmen and the Tomb King large targets. And even a nice net on a Bretonnian cav forces, but with the amount of forces that are going to be on the field, it will be rather interesting to see if there's going to be enough ammo and to make sure that things get whittled down. For the Empire, I mean, that's just a nice, well-rounded faction that has a lot of answers to pretty much anything and everything. I would definitely assume that the Demigryph Knights, and particularly the Royal Altdorf Griffites, are going to be on the field. They have a lot of good targets for them. Any of the Bretonnian forces, the cavalry of the Lizardmen, and if they're large targets, and even the large targets of the Tomb King. So I think that's going to be a for sure thing to be seeing. Of course, the gun line from the coast for Bretonnia. Of course, we're going to see the cav forces from them. I'm assuming we're probably going to be seeing some large dinos on the Lizardmen side. And Tomb Kings will probably come in with some nice ranged support in the terms of maybe some Ushabti caskets could potentially be here. But I'm thinking we'll be seeing some Ushabti great bows, though that is just my initial gut feeling. 3v3s are a completely different beast, and I'm sure they'll have their own game plans to work things out. Looks like RTK has all of their armies ready to go. And Predator, it looks like we are set, and let's get this show loaded up, and hopefully we will actually be able to load into this with all of the armies that we will be seeing. All right. I'm going to assume that is probably going to take at least half of the available time to load in. So just stick close and we will be underway as soon as we can. Hopefully everyone got their settings down so they can handle this size of a battle. As I said before, if this is too much of a lag fest, I will be casting this one later. The first two matches went really well, so I don't think those will be on the docket for that, but this one is still up in the air. Alright, it actually looks like everyone has loaded in a little ahead of what I was expecting. And there goes a little bit slower on the camera movement as everything gets in. Things are looking a little on the slower side, but we will get things underway. Oh man, let's start with the Wood Elves then. We have a Glade Lord, actually on an Eagle here. It looks, I'm guessing this is going to be having the Net of Amnatok and Arrows of Kurnus. We have a Spellsinger of Life, bringing Earthblood and Regrowth. Eternal Guard as the front line, the non-shielded variant. Not a whole lot of ranged coming in from the enemies that they'll be facing, and they keep moving around. And we got a couple Glade Guard with Hagbane tips, getting some nice poison, and here are the 3 Way Watchers that I was expecting to see, and a unit of Wild Riders. So that will be the Wood Elf department, getting that net, getting those heals, and getting those Way Watchers on target. So now for the forces of the Vampire Coast. There is the Necrofex that I was expecting to see. Count Noctilus. We have 2 Gunnery Wights to keep him fed with all the ammo that he could possibly want. We have a rest of it just being a lot of Zombie Pirate Deckhand mobs, the pole arm and regular variant. We have some gunnery mobs, and we have, I believe that was 4 bombers. The other one moved up, and a Shadrith gunner, the deck gunner there. So that will be, and then for the Empire's forces, we have the Sunmaker Hellstorm Rocket Battery with some crossbowmen behind them. We have an Amber Wizard who is bringing Transformation of Kadan and Flock of Doom. We have some handgunners, and I think we also are going to have, let's see here, there is our Lord Boris Todbringer up in the sky with Foe Seeker. And let's see, is there any other forces I am missing on this side of things? There they are. That's what I'm missing. There's my Demigryph Knights that I was expecting to see as well. So far, predictions have been fairly well, at least on that side. And then we have some, I guess, for the other forces, the Bretonnians, Mounted Yeomen off to the side. Here are some of the Cavs. So we have some Knights Errant and Knights of the Realm there. If we look at the frontline engagement, it's going to do all the factions here because they're pretty mixed up together at this point. So we have some Saurus Warriors, Skeleton Warriors, there's more Saurus Skeletons. We have a Tomb Scorpion to kind of hold that frontal engagement. We have pretty much just Skeletons and Saurus for the front line. In the trees, we have a couple of Ushapti. We have some Tomb Guard with Halberds, some regular Tomb Guard units, so a more of an elite secondary line as a bunch of Tomb Guards, Battle Pilgrims in the back, and a Skink Priest Beasts, as well as a Fey Enchantress, Gotrek, and we have Gorok. We have a couple Bastillodons with solar engines, and that looks like to be wrapping up pretty much the army, and a couple of the Champions of Quenelles in the back, and one more unit being Hearken the Black. So I'm going to tell everyone to wait 1 minute. Because my dog is being a pain and does need to go out real quick. So hopefully things don't get going without me. Otherwise we'll just have things zoomed out. Alright, looks excellent. Looks like everyone waited. Alright, start when ready. Yeah, I guess I did also miss a few Pterodon riders up in the sky for the Lizardmans. So if we take a quick look, I guess we can take a closer look at what the heroes have. So we have Transformation of Kadan for the Skink Priest of Beasts. Gorok, of course, but then we have the Fey Enchantress bringing Earthblood, Regrowth, and then, of course, I think we have Arkan on the far side, unless he got moved later on. And what did he bring? He brought Spirit Leech, yeah, the Remortis, Staff of Nagash, and the Tomb Blade of Arkan, and that is going to wrap things up, and we are underway as the Hellstorm Rocket Battery does open up. Let's see where those shots will be landing. Have some nice juicy targets. So it looks like everything is going to land pretty far forward. Maybe, yeah, not even really clipping this unit of Skeleton Warriors, taking out one unit. Yeah, but otherwise, taking a look at things, the bombers I think are going to do quite a bit of work. The Saurus warriors are maybe a little bit of a problem solving with the Pterodon riders, but we have the Way Watchers are going to be able to deal with them fairly well, and we have the Hippogriff Knights sitting in the wings. It looks like things are going to be a little less patient than our last game, or 2 games ago. Things are going to be moving up right away as the Lizardmen, Tomb Kings, and Bretonnian forces are taking some more shots from that Sunmaker and doing quite a bit of damage to these skeleton warriors, clipping those battle programs. But its shots are going to starting to connect, as Noctilus himself is also opening things up, firing into, I'm assuming, either the Ushabti, or I don't think those champions are visible just yet. But more shots raining in, especially to the Holy Wardens of La Maison Tel, which actually did very well against the front line. That is pretty much all of these zombie-powered deckhand mobs. Nice fire damage source. And they should be able to munch through those zombies. More shots raining in, and now the deck gunner has opened up, firing into the Fey Enchantress and Gotrek. Not really doing a whole lot of damage right now, but time will tell. I'm actually kind of surprised to see these 2 gunnery rights so far from Noctilus. I figured that they would be assisting in him, but right now it looks like they are just assisting their Shade Wraith gunner, and potentially, actually, the Sunmaker. I do believe they might be able to use extra powder on the Sunmaker, which would be very helpful because it burns through ammo so fast. But otherwise, Gotrek and the Fae have engaged the front line as the bombers do open up, getting some nice targets, and it looks like some of these Saurus warriors are going to be finding a little middle ground to get in. A transformation of Gadon coming in from the Skink Chief of Beasts, and the Tomb Scorpion just going right up the middle, getting right on top of the Sunmaker. There isn't a whole lot close by to deal with that quickly. You have the 2 zombie-powered deckhand mob with polearms, but it's not going to do much against that Tomb Scorpion. Tomb Scorpion has quite a bit of mass, can do what it wants. The Count Noctilus is now firing in right into the Champions of Quenelle, doing a very nice shot in. We have the Glade Guard is firing into Arkan right now as these Ushabti have blown past the Eternal Guard, getting quickly into the back line. A nice summon of Skeleton Warriors from Arkan going right on top of those Glade Guard, able to keep him down, and those 2 Solar Bastillodon engines are firing into Noctilus as the Feral Manticore and Skink Priest is chasing the Glade Lord on her Eagle, and very much just have to try and hold out or potentially rampage that Feral Manticore with the zombie pirate gunnery mobs. And if they can able to get rampage that, get it to land, it'll at least free up that Glade Lord to avoid it for the summons. So we do have the Amber Wizard, who could potentially make his own summon. We do have now actually the Boris has gotten on top of the Tomb Scorpion, which is a very good target for him. The Fey Enchantress has also taken quite a bit of damage. And if we take a look at the right flank, which I had kind of forgotten for at least the initial part, it looks like the Demigryph Knights are cleaning up shop, doing so much damage to the Knights of the Realm and the Mounted Yeomen, as well as these Knights Errant. The Pterodon Riders just couldn't provide enough firepower to assist them, as now these Knights of the Realm do need to pull back. If these Demigryph Knights turned and charged, which they really need to right now, they need to save these handgunners. There's not, I mean, the Pterodon Riders aren't really a big threat to them, though they might be trying to get in and support their back line, as some of the more, I guess the left flank is starting to collapse a bit for the RTK forces, as the Sons of the Mountain have pushed in with their Champions of Quenelle. But yeah, the frontline engagement, if we take an overview of that, the bombers are still relatively online, though they have taken quite a bit of damage, and I think this is where the Sons of the Mountain can really push through, as the frontline engagement has pretty much been won by them. I think they've almost gotten into all of the bomber units right now. They haven't sustained too much damage. It's just, yeah, Gorrock is still at full health. I think now Arkan is getting into the back line, so I think things are starting to collapse, even though a lot of some high value stuff has been taken out by the Demigryph Knights, especially on this far right flank. I think that even the Glade Guard, now where are those? So there are the Way Watchers. But otherwise, the Skink Chief of Beasts, though, has been taken out, and I think that was before he got his second Manticore summon. So if that Manticore can, well, I don't know if Manticore necessarily wants to chase it up, but something should to prevent that other summon from coming in. The Shopti have been dropped right on top of the Way Watchers. Should be able to do some decent work right there. But we'll see if that's going to be enough to break them. Though Arkin has taken quite a bit of damage. More shots coming in from the Way Watchers. I think that's where all the damage was done, and that'll be catastrophic for the Tomb King forces if he is to go down. If we look at the center engagement, we have the Fey Enchantress, who is now at full health again with a nice heal. Gotrek is doing some good work against the Zombie Pirate Deckhand mobs. We really aren't going to be doing a whole lot against this little blob here, especially the Tomb Scorpion should make quick work of that center engagement, though this Glade Lord could potentially swoop in, though Gotrek is there, potentially not. Though, yeah, the Feral Manticore is chasing down Arkin right now. He is very low, and if he can even, and a net goes down, that is going to be curtains for Arkin. Prey of Anathrema goes down, tries to save himself with Libra Mortis, but he is disintegrating, so a very nice catch with that net. But now we take a look at the rest of the engagements. The Sing Priest has come back and did get his second summon off, so he was not able to get pushed off. So he's pretty much used up all of his, I mean, that's pretty much all he needed to do. I think he has Flock of Doom. No, he was just Transformation to Kadan. And so if he goes down now, it is no big loss to the Lizardmen forces. We take a look at the rest of the front line. The Demigryph Knights are now supporting that frontal engagement with Boris Todbringer as well. These two Bastillodons are pretty much isolated right now. They could go for them, though I think they really do need to assist their frontline engagement. Leave those Bastillodons for later. The Pterodon Riders are doing some decent work as well, shutting down some units. Looks like we have a summons coming in, so we have another Feral Manticore coming down from the, I believe this is from the Empires. And so now that Feral Manticore should be able to assist in dealing with the Pterodons. Though we have Gotrek and the Fae coming for Noctilus. I think having Gotrek on Noctilus is very much where he needs to be. He's there assisting the Ushapti and the other Feral Manticore, who's being able to shut down the Shade Wraith Gunner, as things have kind of slowed down a little bit. Now hopefully we do get everything coming back. Let's hope. Let's see. Come on, let's get... Don't end on us. Oh no, Lumiere, you dropped from the game. Well, that is unfortunate. So that is our Empire force has been dropped from there, so we'll see how much of an effect that has on things. That is unfortunate that Lumiere had to drop from that. So we are still going, so we'll see how things shake out, because that's going to drop off with the control of the Demigryph Knights. They are still here. Actually, it looks like they're still moving. Well, we'll see how things shake out. Yeah, Noctilus is continuing to fire into the forces. Probably, I think he's targeting the Tomb Guard, or no, he is targeting a Tomb Guard unit, not the Halberd variant. Glade Lord is coming in, the Way Watchers firing in and routing off these Knights Errant. Pterodon Riders are still up in the sky, though any of these crossbowmen, some pirate gunnery mobs can just turn and fire on those Pterodons now, and I think a lot of the Sons of the Mountains forces are starting to run out of steam. Okay, it says Lumiere dropped, but his units are still moving. And yeah, the Bastillodon is still up and running, though they are very low on ammo, pretty much used all of it, but they have been unable to do a critical amount of damage to Count Noctilus, who I believe they've been shooting at for most of the game. As we do have the Spellsinger of Life providing some nice heals, and we have a nice little Flock of Doom clipping a couple of the units of Source Warriors and Tomb Guards with halberds. I think the balance power is actually starting to maybe creep back a little bit more or coming back towards center from the initial favor of RTK, but we'll see how things are going. Yeah, a lot of the Lizardmen and Bretonnian forces are starting to get more and more into the backline as ammo is running very slim on these Way Watchers. Gunnery White is able to keep Noctilus up and running. A summon of zombies coming down to block the advance of the Lizardmen and Bretonnian forces. But otherwise, I mean, all armies here are very much depleted. There's some Saurus warriors trying to get on top of these Way Watchers, though even a couple of volleys might just be enough to just outright shatter this unit. It is so very low, 13 units. Noctilus wading into combat, trying to break it completely. Demigryph Knights with their lance variant coming in. Now that those backline threats have been pretty much eliminated, they're going to be facing their attention more towards the front line. The Blade Lord pretty much staying in the sky, firing in, pretty much targeting Gorok, and I think Gotrek is going to be the two targets for her to be firing at, and Gotrek and Gorok, they do need to stay together at this point. It does look like Gotrek might be getting a little separated. But I mean, if they get into this center engagement, it might be enough to help take down Boris, who is pretty much surrounded by, I mean, Saurus warriors. We have Tomb Guard in here. They are kind of wavering a bit. We do have the Demigryph Knights, which is going to be a threat, though Gotrek should be able to do fairly decently in that particular engagement. Balance power now, though, is going more and more into RTK's favor, as the Solar Bastiladon is now coming into melee, as he has used up all of its ammo. And shots raining in from Noctilus, who has been able to continually be kept at pretty much full ammo. Doesn't have his that ability from the coast when they have, I believe it's 80% ammo. They get a little bit extra missile damage. But otherwise, he's going to be continuing to fire pretty much all game. Gunnery White's also starting to take some pot shots into the Bastiladon. Gotrek still going strong. The Amber Wizard is going down from the Empire, though the Empire has used up all of its summons as well. And Way Watchers cleaning up the Pterodon Riders and firing in to Gotrek at this time. So I think things are starting to taper out for the Bretonnian Lizardmen and Tomb King forces. Really, it's just the two Bastiladons are the big stopping power right now. We still have Gotrek and we still have Gorok, but otherwise things are pretty much wavering across the board. And even on the Wood Elf Empire and Empire Coast faction, pretty much all of the frontline units have also gone down, as there's not a whole lot left. Just summons trying to keep everything away from the Way Watchers, though they have pretty much used up all their ammo too. One unit still has quite a few left. And then, I mean, as long as Noctilus is able to stay free, keep firing. Blade Lord still has shots left to be had. So does the Gunnery White. Yep, the AI Empire holding off up for Lumiere. But yeah, I think we still have, I mean, Boris has pretty much suicided himself into Gotrek. He is going to go down. That is going to be a little bit of a pressure release for them, but otherwise I still think it's not going to be a whole lot that they can do, as the Amber Wizard, or that is the Amber Wizard, who was shattered quite a while ago. Gorok is pretty low. Gotrek is very low as well. And I think the Gunnery White should be able to focus down the two, or just the few Pterodons that are left, and the Bastiladon just isn't going to be, well, I shouldn't say that so quickly. The Bastiladon does have quite a bit of health left, and there's not a whole lot to, like, keep it down. The Way Watchers do have some ammo left, so they could focus its shots on there to get as much damage as they can, though I think they do need to deal with Gorok and Gotrek first. And if all of these units get engaged with Count Noctilus, that could very well be enough to sway the balance of power back to even, if not even in their favor. There's not a whole lot. I mean, if you take a look at what's kind of in the surround, everything on the periphery has pretty much is routing still or completely shattered. Pterodons are finally gone, though, as Gorok is now taking shots in from the Way Watchers, trying to dodge as best he can, but at this point blank range, I don't know how possible that's going to be. Noctilus firing, kiting away as well. All those shots look like they did miss Gorok, so that is going to be a little bit problematic for them. Glade Lord still firing in. Let's see what she looks like. She's targeting as well Gorok, so that is the focus for now. Count Noctilus turning and firing. Looks like targeting a lot of friendly fire coming in right there against Count Noctilus from the Way Watchers, as he takes some shots into the rear. But Gotrek is starting to get very, very low. He is at his healing cap. Shots missing from Noctilus as he tries to bring him down. I don't don't know though. I mean, Noctilus and the Glade Lord might be enough to deal with what's left. I think the Glade Lord actually could easily get a nice rear charge off on a Gotrek and take him down. Henry White does go down. Balance power is starting to go a little back and forth a bit as it gets maybe a little bit closer to even, as Gotrek now makes a nice charge to Noctilus, though a single shot from Noctilus could be enough to just send him straight into the ground. Actually, he must have a little Arcane Conduit. I thought I saw his health go up a little bit. That might have just been the adjustment from the hits from Gotrek. Yeah, I think Noctilus needs to turn and fire onto Gotrek, or he's just going to need to try and run away. Glade Lord getting a nice rear charge off into Gorok. Should be breaking him as long as the Source Warriors aren't able to screen her out. But Noctilus is going down very quickly here. As Gotrek, even though he is on slivers of health, Gorok finally drops, but Noctilus is trying to get away, trying to stabilize his health as balance power is now back to even. I don't think Noctilus is going to be able to make it out of this engagement. A heal is going to be going down onto Noctilus. So that is just a regrowth. I guess that still works. I'm not necessarily certain that that does work on Undead, but I suppose it does. I think, yeah, again, Gotrek is, let's see, what is he at for health? He is at 404. I think the Glade Lord should be trying to single out Gotrek. Otherwise, Gotrek just needs to stay alive as long as possible, as the Glade Lord has now used up the last of her ammo. We take a look at what the surrounding forces have left. Way Watchers are still trying to kite back. They have only, I think this one has maybe one shot left, actually 0, even though it says probably like half of their units can fire in. This has 3 units left to fire. The last volley from these Way Watchers could not finish off Gotrek, who is now down to 358. The 2 Bastillodons and Gotrek together could be very well enough that can solo the rest of this army, but Gotrek goes down, and that's going to be a very big problem for what's left of these forces. The 2 Bastillodons together, though, can probably gang up and beat down the Glade Lord. So I'm trying to think of what else can be happening here. I mean, Count Noctilus is trying to stay away, but I think the Glade Lord needs to either needs to pick off what's left and just leave these 2 Bastillodons. But I mean, this is getting down so close to the wire, and there's just so little tools left on both sides. I mean, the 2 Bastillodons are a very real threat for Noctilus and the Glade Lord. Noctilus just continues to try and stay away. What is he down to right now? He is down to 812 health. It is so low. Glade Lord continuing to come in and out of combat, breaking these battle programs. Next is the Tomb Guard. Should be able to do that very well. They are crumbling. It shouldn't be too long before they actually disintegrate, as pretty much all of the Tomb King army has been brought down. Yeah, the biggest question is going to be the 2 Bastillodons. I think we're going to have a bit of RNG here between the Glade Lord and those Bastillodons. So, I mean, at this point, we have like 1 volley left from these Way Watchers. They need to like connect all of their shots. Glade Lord is pretty much going to have to try and solo this engagement, as Noctilus does lose a leg and fall to the ground. Spellsinger may have enough for another heal, though I'm not sure at this point. She did use a regrowth on Noctilus before the end, and the Bastillodons are coming for her. They still have some ranged fire coming in. Even though they have used up their main ammo, they still have a little bit of... I don't know if... I don't think it has poison, but there goes the Spellsinger, as balance power is now in the favor of the Lizardmen, Tomb Kings, and Bretonnian forces. Because the heals are going to be gone for the... I mean, all that's left is the Wood Elf forces. There's nothing else, no Empire, and there is no Vampire Coast left. So we'll see if that Glade Lord is able to take down the Bastillodons. So here comes that final engagement. Spears will probably rout before they even get into an engagement, as the shots from the Bastillodon will probably be enough to cause them to rout. The Way Watchers are pretty much going to have to go in one at a time to at least distract the Bastiladons for as long as possible while the Glade Lord tries to cycle in. But all the Bastiladons have to do is pretty much go from one group of units to the other, break them one at a time. They are getting just a few little pokes in, taking out a couple units of these Eternal Guard. And here comes their charge. Actually, the Bastiladon's getting a little split up here. They really need to stay right on top of each other. Though I guess the paths did come together. Though here is the Glade Lord trying to get as much damage as he can off onto the one Bastiladon, but now here comes that Bastiladon sandwich as the Glade Lord is stuck in between. And that Eagle against these two big dinos, I don't think, as that tail just whacking that Glade Lord right in the head, and the Glade Lord is that it? And that will be our game, and the Sons of the Mountain will win the 3v3, coming back in the end. It's a shame that we had Lumiere drop from that match, but it was still a very, very close match, coming down to just those two Bastiladons. So yeah, we cycle through. I mean, the Weight Watchers doing a lot of damage to, I think, the Cav earlier on. Not a whole lot of high kill count, but the Demigryph Knights were doing very, very good work against all of the Cav that the Bretonnians brought. If we look at the Bretonnians, not a whole lot of kills on their lineup. A lot of the battle programs did well, though, against the front line of the Vampire Coast. But yeah, very, very good games. Bastiladons being that MVP late game. Yep, yeah, it definitely was a shame that Lumiere ended up getting dropped from that match. Not a whole lot we can do about that, though. At least the AI at least was able to salvage at least some control, but definitely a very good match nonetheless. So we will update the final. Oops, really messed up that. We have the final score. So it ends up being 6-5 in RTK's favor. A very good last 2v2s and 3v3 matches. Very exciting stuff. But yeah, that will wrap things up. I will display our initial list of matches. So yeah, we could run through these again. Prussian Prince did beat Grombrindle, J Phoenix beat Bilbo Bagoge, Lumiere won against Predator, and Tex was able to beat the Vampire Coast led by Mercernik. However, when it came down to the 2v2s, the Mihawk and Bilbo Bagoge was able to beat J Phoenix, and Kafka actually subbed in for this match. But then Prussian Prince and Majutsu was able to beat Predator and Grombrindle in the second 2v2, and Sons of the Mountain were able to come back and scrap out a win in the 3v3 finale. That was a very fantastic group of games. And yeah, that is going to wrap up the Clan War for today. So yeah, unless there are any final comments in the chat, I think we are going to be wrapping up this stream. So, yeah, I don't see any other comments coming up. So, yeah, again, I thank you all for watching today. And, as always, have a good one.